A lot of new investors think that wholesaling houses takes no money at all, but truth is, it often does require some money. However, I'm going to be teaching you some ways that you can wholesale without any money at all of your own. And first of all, if you're new to the channel, my name's Justin You're and I've helped hundreds of people make money in real estate. So first thing I want to talk about is your marketing strategy. A lot of wholesalers, you can find deals so many different ways wholesaling houses. And there's cold calling, there's texting, there's door knocking, there's MLS, there's social media, there's direct mail. There's a lot of different strategies to use to find deals as a wholesaler. However, only a few are free. So if you're gonna be cold calling, typically you have to pay for data. You have to pay for the phone numbers to skip trace all these homeowners to call. You usually have to pay for the data to compile the list. If you don't want to cold call yourself, you have to pay for the cold caller, an assistant or a virtual assistant to cold call for you, or you spend the time yourself to cold call. But these things cost money. And a lot of wholesalers think wholesaling does not take money, but marketing often costs money. Same goes for texting homeowners for strategy, same goes for direct mail, same goes for ringless voicemails, all these different strategies. The free methods, however, to market, to find deals to wholesale, and these are some of my favorite ways because it doesn't take money and anyone could do it. One is the MLS, multiple listing service. It's basically where all the homes are listed for sale. Where a realtor goes to list a home, that's what the MLS is. So you can find deals there to wholesale, although there are some drawbacks to wholesaling on the MLS. I still do it today, but there are some barriers that you have to kind of overcome, which I can talk about later if you'd like. So there are barriers to wholesaling. There's also social media, and there's also just, relationships with bird dogs or newer wholesalers that you can kind of partner with. So these are other strategies that I love, these free strategies, the social media, the MLS, the bird dogs. These are great strategies to use to find deals because, again, it actually does require none of your own money, but it will take time. So if you're going to try to find deals with the MLS, you have to consistently make offers on the MLS. You have to consistently be looking for deals, analyzing deals, talking to a lot of realtors to make offers on these homes, all these listings, and you have to follow up with them. You literally have to treat these listing agents whenever you make an offer on one of their homes. If they say no, you have to treat it like a lead, and you have to follow up with them every 2 weeks or a month or however it is, depending on, how hot the deal could be. But you have to follow up with them to say, hey, my offer still stands. And you got any other offers? Is it pending? What's the status? I'm still here. My offer still stands. It's a lot of work on the MLS. Same goes for social media, and same goes for bird dog relationships. And if you don't know what a bird dog is basically someone who goes around and finds potential deals for you, and you can pay them a fee to do so. They're kind of like a wholesaler, except they're not actually locking it up under contract. They're not making the offer to the seller, getting a contract, and they're not selling the contract. They're simply there to say, hey, look, I got a deal. Do you want this deal? I'll give it to you. And really that's what a bird dog is. Social media also takes a lot of work because whatever kind of content you're going to be making, whether it's video content, podcast content, texting content, you have to be talking to people and nurturing those people. So just because they see your content doesn't mean that they're going to, send you deals or anything like that. But what I found from social media is that if you're constantly marketing to try to find deals, you could definitely make relationships with a lot of new bird dogs or new wholesalers who want to partner with you on deals to wholesale. And this might be a better strategy if you're a house flipper, but I found plenty of deals on social media. It's made me well over $100,000 specifically, just social media through real estate. And I have found that because I have really tried to target a specific viewer. On my social media, a lot of my content's revolved around helping the brand new wholesaler, or maybe the brand new wholesaler essentially. So it's someone who's trying to get into the wholesaling, maybe kind of get their foot in the door. They don't know exactly what to do yet, and they'd much rather have the help of someone with experience. And a lot of these new wholesalers come to me like, hey, I think I have a deal, I need help, and I've been helping them for, every single month. And every time they find a potential deal, they come to me and they want to work with me on it. And so that's a way you can find deals for free if you want to wholesale. So that's the first thing you got to think of, marketing strategy. Is it going to be a paid method or is it going to be a free method? And if you want this to be truly free, you probably should pick a free method. MLS, social media, maybe bird dog relationships. So that's the first thing you have to keep a lookout for if you want to wholesale real estate for absolutely free. Now, the next thing that you got to look at is the earnest money deposit. So I guess a lot of new wholesalers aren't aware of this, but oftentimes if you buy a house, you're typically expected to put down something what's called an earnest money deposit, an EMD for short. And this is basically a good faith deposit showing the seller that you're serious about buying their home. And in the case that you do back out, they get to keep your deposit. And so it kind of ranges maybe 1 to 3% of the home purchase price, but you can literally put you could put $1, you could put 50 cents, you could put $100. Most of my EMDs are like $500, $100, something like that. But if you're using an EMD, realize that money has to come from somewhere. And if it's not coming from someone else, it's going to come out of your pocket as a wholesaler, which means it's not truly a free deal. Like, you're having to put some money in. If you're dead broke, kind of an issue. So here's how to get around that. If you don't want to use your own money for the earnest money deposit, which could be like a couple $1,000s if it's a big deal, if you don't want to use your own money, here's what you can do. You can let the end buyer provide the earnest money deposit. However, if you do this, it's gonna be tough because you have to time it right. You have to find the end buyer fast. And in order to do so, I'd suggest you build a lot of the relationships early on for your end buyers and kind of build up your buyers list if you truly have to do this without any of your own money. Reason is, let's say you find a deal, smoking deal, and they require, or the seller is asking you to put a $5,000 earnest money deposit, and you have $500 in your bank. You can't put the $5,000 down. And maybe the period for submitting the earnest money deposit is a 3-day period. Maybe the seller wants you to put it into escrow within 3 days. You're like, okay, I don't have $5,000. Where am I gonna get this money? What you could do is you could market it to your buyers list or all the buyers that you have and say, hey, who wants to buy this home from me? I am assigning this, I'm wholesaling this. Buyer to put down the EMD ASAP or by this date. You could do that, and if you find the buyer fast, perfect. You can find a buyer who will put the earnest money deposit down so that you can literally come $0 out of pocket. Now, that's probably the best way. Another thing that you can do, which I've never done personally yet because I haven't needed to, but if I was out of money and I didn't find a buyer in time, you could also just get a loan for the earnest money deposit, from someone who you trust, and give them a return on their money. It is risky though, because they could lose the earnest money deposit, but you can get a loan from someone. Hey, can you put this earnest money deposit down? I'll pay you this plus your original money back whenever I get paid, which again, risky. Be careful with that. You have to be darn sure that it's a good deal that you're gonna get paid, because otherwise, if you have someone put down a $5,000 earnest money deposit and the seller ends up keeping it because you have to back out and can't find a buyer, well, now you owe someone $5,000 and probably not a fun thing. So those are the things that you can do to not put any of your own money down. The marketing is huge, and so is the earnest money deposit. So the big thing, which is kind of weird because I don't typically recommend this, but if you truly want to do no money out of pocket wholesaling real estate, I would probably focus on building somewhat of a buyer's list beforehand. And if you don't know what a buyer's list is, it's basically all your end buyers or all the investors who you're planning to wholesale deals to. Reason is, if you want them to provide the earnest money deposits, you better have access to them ASAP. Because if you don't have access to these people and you can't communicate with them right away, they're not going to be able to put the earnest money deposit down, and you're going to have to figure out a way to come up with it. Again, I don't typically like to recommend people to focus on their buyer's list first. I usually recommend people to find the deal first, because usually once you find the deal, the money will come. However, the money doesn't always come fast. Sometimes when you get a deal under contract or you get it locked up and you're trying to wholesale it, sometimes it takes more than 3 days, if that's the time period it takes for you to put the EMD down. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes 2 weeks. It takes time sometimes. And if you don't have some buyers at least lined up and ready to go, it can be really, really scary, because especially if you're broke and you don't have any money. So those are the things I recommend. And if you don't know how to build a buyer's list, I would just start with the local investors that you do know. Kind of figure out what their criteria is, where their purchase prices are, where they like to buy. Like, try to get to know your buyers. You don't want to just have this blanket list and just email blast everyone. You could, I mean, it works. But develop relationships with your buyers, and you can find them from the relationships you already have, maybe know. Ask them if they know any other investors. And then you can use Facebook groups. Facebook groups is pretty good. Again, don't just like take everyone's email down on Facebook groups, but there's a lot of Facebook groups for real estate investors or wholesalers. You can go to those groups and type in the group saying, hey, like I'm looking for end buyers. I'm a wholesaler. I'm a new wholesaler trying to wholesale deals in this city. Who wants deals? And then they'll probably blast out all their emails, try to connect with them, like message them back, figure out what they like, what they want, so that by the time you actually get a deal, you know, okay, like this person's probably gonna buy this, I can send it to this guy specifically, and that's how you wholesale without actually using money, because wholesaling does require money most times. And if you just need help to grow your real estate investing business in general, I want you to click on the link in the description below for a free strategy session. But otherwise, peace.